We're back. Come on.
Fire Mountain.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Come on.
Let's go.
Welcome to episode 11 of Fire Mountain. 11 weeks
11
of these
episodes.
dulcet tones coming your way.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome, people.
From Kaufman Studios, it's Fire Mountain.
That's good. That's good. That's definitely a voiceover potential there. For X Factor, Britain's Got Talent.
Anything really. I'm available.
Do your best voiceover.
My best voiceover. Okay, hold on. You just sit there.
Yeah.
Straight from the streets comes the urban night. I don't even know where I'm going in this.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, you go.
Okay.
Do one for me.
Okay. The Wizard of Ignorance. Yeah, that's all I've got.
The Wizard of Ignorance. The lesser known superhero power of ignorance.
Well, where I was pitching it was thinking like Britain's Got Talent. You know when they do those big like pyrotechnics introductions of like, you know, people coming on the stage to perform. And I don't know, I thought, what would your stage name be? And then I thought The Wizard of Ignorance maybe.
It's true. So here's a question to get the show started. You know, in movies, when you walk into, like someone walks in somewhere,
yeah,
a song starts to play.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So in your house,
yeah,
every time you got home and walked in through the door,
or
what
into
would
church?
the song be? No, in your home. So like a random place, like in your home, or you went into a shopping center.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A song has to kick in. What song would you choose?
I don't know, like you're inclined to go down like the Rocky Road, aren't you?
Yeah.
Rocky Road.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, nice. You know,
yeah.
I like Chariots of Fire as well.
Oh, okay.
That's quite cool.
Are you going to walk in slow motion?
But I also, what about the theme tune to the film I Am Legend?
Oh.
Imagine just like that. You walk into the room, I am legend.
Nice.
Let's
Very
go.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
What would yours be?
Cutting Crew, I Died in Your Arms Tonight.
Okay. So
Just as the door opens. I died in your arms tonight.
yeah, I would love that to be the case for you. I'd love it if you walked into every room and that was the thing
just
that
happened.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. What song do you think I should have?
It's a really tricky one. In the comments below, what song do you think Dom should have? Let's pop that in. Let's find a song for Dom. An entry song.
I love Lord of the Rings music as well.
Dude, it's too epic though. You can't get away with something that epic.
No, you can if you're epic like me.
Nah,
it's quite fitting.
I mean, I suppose it depends if you take like one of those back-end songs, you know, when they're just running the credits.
Yeah,
and it's like really weird.
Annie Lennox just wailing on something a bit later. I would take it. I think there is something epic about it. Anyways, how you doing, Richard?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I'm very, very good. Excited to be here for episode 11 of Fire Mountain.
That's crazy.
So much has been happening this week.
Yeah.
War still going on.
Yeah.
And kind of just ramping up. Who knows where all of that's heading to.
Yeah, the Lord knows.
The Lord knows, which has been exciting. How are you doing, Dom?
Yeah, not too bad. I this week I've been a bit bummed out, to be honest, by just by the state of things. It's just like, it's so overwhelmingly bad. Yeah. Isn't it? It is, though.
Yeah.
It's just like, like my kids are growing up in a world that is just falling to bits. It's just like...
Dude, that I totally agree with you. It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
You know, you try to create a sphere of normality at home and of course, not keep them, like, withdrawn from the chaos of society, because they need to know this stuff. Yeah. But it's just like, is this the world really? And like the prices of things going through the roof, petrol, diesel, like energy bills. I mean, we were talking about energy bills today. Like, I'm sure at home you're kind of looking at some proposed estimates from your energy companies, and you're just like, I'm going to take out a second mortgage to heat this house next year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was just talking to you about filling up my car, and I think I paid like an extra 12 or 15 quid or something to fill up my car, which is ridiculous.
And it's only a small.
No, it's tiny little car.
Thank goodness you got one electric one, right?
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
So where do you charge your electric one? Because you live in a flat.
I run a cable down from the window of my flat.
Do you really?
Dude, I lower the tone.
No, you're joking. You don't.
I live in Boscombe, and I lower the tone. What I do is we run an electric cable out the window.
I didn't know that.
Down the side of the building.
Out of your flat?
Out of my flat. So I can plug my electric car in. That's where I've gone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you have electric. I mean, that is mind-boggling to me that you run an extension cable out the window of your flat, down the side of it, across the street.
I specially ordered a 30-meter cable off Amazon that was waterproof, so I could run it out the flat.
What if someone like Nick? Can someone not like mess with it?
Well, they could, but They could. Let's be honest, they could. But it's Boscombe.
Why didn't you get
electric cars in Boscombe? This is new technology. They don't know what to do with it.
Why didn't you get like a 3,000 meter cable and just keep it plugged in the whole time? Just drive around town. just like while you're at it, just leave it in. Just leave it in. I mean, you've already got it coming down your flat. You might as well take it across the street.
So luckily for us, our parking is right outside the front of the flat, so we're kind of okay.
Okay.
There's a guy who's got a van,
right,
and he's obviously charging something in his van he needs for work.
Okay.
So he runs an electric cable out of the front door of his flat.
Oh my.
Like this isn't in our flats. It's the flat next to us, across the road.
Wow.
And then
does he put any cover on?
No. Just a cable running across the road.
So if a car snagged on that cable,
it would rip. It would
just rip the socket out of his flat.
You just come out, their front doors down the road, the van's dragged off.
I mean, you're from South Africa. So having been to Africa, I've seen how they jimmy some electrics and how they throw coat hangers over electric cables and all this kind of. But you kind of bring it. You're living the dream now. Endorse it.
It's problematic. We had some carpets laid,
right?
And the guys were like, "Yeah, I can't run carpet over the cable like that. You're gonna have to lift that cable up, and then I'll run the carpet, and then you can do whatever you like with it. But it's illegal."
Wow.
That's what I've done. That's where it's at.
That's where it's at. Mate. Living the dream. That is so interesting. But I mean, like for those of us who are still using classic diesel engines, I mean, we are being stung right now.
And diesel especially.
Diesel is bad, isn't it,
dude? Compared to unleaded. Buy an unleaded vehicle, man. Diesel's like 10p extra or something stupid.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering, you can use like chip shop fat, can't you, on diesels or something?
Well, I'm looking back to the future. I need one of those flux capacitor bad boys in my car.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, to be honest, back to the future. I'm just picturing. I'm struggling with the idea that you run an extension cable out of your flat to your car.
It looks absolutely normal. Doesn't look bad at all.
I just can't imagine walking down the street and just seeing power cables coming out of windows charging cars. Anyways.
I'm not saying it's a good thing.
It is what it is.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's where we're at.
Obviously, what we've seen in the news this week is Boris trying to kind of cut off our dependence on Russian oil, which is great, which is cool, makes sense. The fact that we don't want to be dependent on a state that is a bit maverick and rogue. So what he's done is he's gone for the safe bet of Iran.
Luckily, what we've done is we've gone, let's go to that great...
Or was it Saudi Arabia,
Saudi Arabia. Let's go to the human rights country. What they're known for, their human rights.
They're trustworthy.
And let's get some oil from those bad boys.
It's like, okay, no, Putin's too unpredictable. Yeah, let's go to Saudi Arabia.
I mean,
let's definitely do that.
At this stage, we're just basically picking what brand of crazy do we want to align ourselves with. This is where we're at right now. That's what I feel.
Well, yeah, we've got kind of challenges with rice and flour and all this kind of stuff. So it's good. We're going to create a partnership with North Korea, so that's good. So it's cool. Just like put our tentacles into these most crazy nations around the world. It's crazy. Is it Saudi Arabia that Boris is in?
I think it's Saudi Arabia. Jump on the news. We haven't brought your news feed up for a while. Let's bring up the news feed. You ready? Yeah.
I mean, I'm ready. I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Yeah, look.
Here we go.
Yeah, so it's Saudi Arabia. PM doesn't say whether he reached oil deal on Saudi trip and insists human rights talks will remain private. Yeah. Because basically, we don't like how you treat people in your country, but we desperately need the oil that you produce.
So that guy in that photo.
Which one?
The one you're looking at.
Okay.
The Saudi guy.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy who they think is going to become the president. And one of the things against him is that he's a murderer. I was reading about this. I think in Sky.
Really?
Which is pretty worrying.
Wow. But if he's got cheap oil, he's got cheap oil, Richard.
I mean, that's true.
I mean, that's a joke, and that's horrendous.
Or what we could do is think to ourselves, let's run a giant extension cable out of a couple of flats, solve this crisis once and for all.
No, ideally, if we could just plug into France and then they take the hit on the energy bill.
We're not building a wall. We're building a ginormous cable.
That would be so good. And then if we get a really good extension cable, then every house just jimmies off that one. And then France have got like a 4.8 billion energy bill at the end of the year.
So my funnest news story of the week is Zelensky presented in front of Congress, did a good kind of Congress drawing on like 9/11, Pearl Harbor, really asking America to do more, really help with what's going on. Yeah. And one of the Republican senators dropped out a tweet going, I know things could be really hard for you at the moment, but you could have at least put a suit on, which I just think to myself, what you took away from all of what he said and all of the kind of chaos that's worked out is, did you have to come in a t-shirt? Couldn't you have worn a suit? Like, I just think to myself, it's happened.
What else have you got going on in your life that you didn't have time to put a suit on before you came and addressed us? Was this in America? Did you say it was a Republican Senate?
Yeah, right. He did a presentation. It'll be in the news, in front of Congress. It was in the news. and absolutely, it's one of those stories where then when Twitter went mental and rose up against him, he tried to then post another response in defense of what he had.
Sorry, guys, you didn't understand. You didn't understand.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at was simply that it's disrespectful to not dress smart
Honestly.
when you're broadcasting on Zoom to a
and
political kind of
even funner,
entity.
some people saying, well, what would have been the base minimum of acceptable wear? And he said, well, if you're wearing a T-shirt, maybe a nice dinner jacket over that would have been all right.
Wow. Okay, I mean, this guy obviously has no idea of what's going on in Ukraine right now. Zelensky's kind of got his hands full, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what is interesting is you look at the... and I don't know how much of it is media spin, but you see, like, Putin obviously suited up and got this massive kind of marble table with world leaders sat like 30 foot away.
Yeah.
Whereas Zelensky in the trenches with his kind of combats and his kind of camo shirt and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ukrainian fighting for his territory. I don't know. He's got some guts, this guy, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Do you even gave his address to Putin?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah. He's like, you know where I am. You
Yeah,
can come
I'm
and
not
get me.
hiding. Like,
Oh,
this is
man.
my address.
Oh,
Basically, my gosh. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? This whole Russia-Ukraine thing. I mean, it looks like there's some peace talks with a bit of, like, you know, some movement maybe, but
So
we'll see.
How skeptical are you about those talks? Because I read it and I think to myself, I don't trust a thing.
Skeptical in what way?
Like,
What skeptical
time
about what?
stalling.
They're happening? Or?
Like time stalling, like just basically going, oh yeah, no, we're going to be doing peace talks, and in the back end, Russia's all like, we're about to bomb everybody again.
Okay.
Like, it just feels weird to me.
Yeah, it seems weird. Like, I think Russia have found this conquest a whole lot more difficult than they expected.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
I found it interesting that they asked China, so we're told anyways, they asked China for help
Yeah,
with military and all that kind of stuff, right? And the Middle East.
yeah.
It seems like, well, Russia's got a huge army. And
Yeah.
it's got, in theory, but war is expensive in terms of casualty and resources and finances. And now I genuinely wonder if Putin is having to kind of, you know, compromise a little bit of his goals.
Yeah.
Because he knows he doesn't want to sustain a war because it's costly in sanctions and, you know, it's crazy.
Can you quickly go onto the main page of Sky? I think that there is a thing that now it's stalling on all fronts, like the Russian advance. I think that's something about it stalling or something. I think I got a news alert coming through a little while ago.
Let's have a look.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. I mean, to be honest, everything on the homepage of Sky News today is to do with...
Hold on, there we go.
Nazanin, is it? Nazanin?
Yeah.
Nazanin Zaghari?
Yeah.
Ratcliffe. I think that's quite a cool story.
In my ignorance, let me just hold my hands up and say I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah.
Originally, I thought she was a protester and couldn't understand what all the fuss is, but you've helped me understand a little bit more.
Well,
So
yeah.
I'm going to hand it over to you.
Gee, thanks, man. So basically, she was in Iran.
Yeah.
She's half Iranian, so she's got Iranian. She's, you know, by ancestry Iranian, but obviously married to a Brit. Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
And got a daughter with her husband over in this country, but and has worked for like the BBC and those sorts of institutes before. But yeah, was over there, I believe, visiting family, and Iran locked her up on a charge of espionage.
Crazy.
Now, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we know that some of these Middle East countries are a bit heavy-handed with kind of justice and sometimes just throw mud and hope that it sticks. But like, you know, is she a spy? I don't know. I mean, we don't really want to get into that because that might be slightly controversial. But did you hear that one of the reasons that she was released was because England paid £400 million.
For what?
Yeah, this is the funny thing. Because like when I heard about this £400 million thing, I was like, well, that implies a measure of guilt. Like, maybe she knows stuff that the UK government would put value on. So £400 million. But it turns out that we were in debt to Iran, 400 million quid, because get this, right, basically Iran ordered some tanks from us, right, gave us the money, and we didn't make them the tanks or send them the tanks, but we took their money.
And
which isn't great.
£400 million could have gone into the NHS.
It could have.
But
that's where Nigel Farage would have put it.
Exactly.
In the NHS, definitely. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. But now she's released, and it's come to this crunch point a number of times where, like, on the verge of release, and then for whatever reason they send her back to court, find her guilty for something else, or extend her sentence by a year. So now she's been in an Iranian prison cell for 6 years.
That's crazy.
Separated from her daughter. Just imagine that. Imagine not seeing your daughter and husband for 6 years, and then all of us, it'd be insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, she landed in the early hours of this morning, back on British territory, which is great. Back with her family, which is great. But it is all very interesting what's going on there.
So, do you think you could be a spy? Let's ask it.
Of the form of James Bond, of that type of spy?
No,
like
I mean
suave and like
we know the answer
appeal.
now. No, you couldn't be that.
I think I could.
Let's just go more. You could go into Russia as a spy. Do you think you could pull it off?
Well, I think like I certainly feel like I've got the suave, and I'm stuck on that point really.
The suave, really.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm pretty sure you said to me this morning I'm dressed like a homeless person. That's what I feel. Like I'm sure that comment was made.
I do feel a bit underdressed for Fire Mountain today, which is saying something, but I don't know whether it's just because Zelensky's showing up in shirts now at these kind of
guns out.
parliamentary meetings. But no, do I think I don't think so, because I'm horrendously bad at lying. Now, obviously, you say, why would a pastor ever need to lie? But surprises, secrets, things that you're trying to just hide to give someone joy in something. I'm rubbish at doing that. So I just think I would get over the border and I'd give the game away within about 30 minutes, because I'd be like, you know, my dossier. Have my dossier under my arm. I think I would be caught.
Where did I put the secret camera?
I would be that person who's walking through, like, I don't know, some airport in Moscow, like with my finger in my ear, trying to hear what it is that Judi Dench is saying down the line. Like, what was that? What was that, Em? Go on, Em, say it again. Sniper 2 where? Right, okay. So I think it's kind of like, I don't think... How about you?
No, I would like to think I could be a spy, but I know I couldn't
You could be a spy, and we wouldn't know.
It's true, I could be a spy from South Africa. You don't really know. South Africa's spying on Britain, planning an invasion. Well, not at all.
Well, I mean, I think you'd make better villain than spy.
Yeah.
I think you've got more that, like, you've got an evil lair in a volcano somewhere. Like, in fact, actually, if you just put the camera on you and do a turnaround, like a Doctor Evil turnaround. Okay.
I also need a cap.
Okay, you need a cap.
I'm going to pretend like this is my cap.
Go on then, let's see it. And put on your most villain voice, and let's see what happens.
That will be $1 million.
400 million.
Yep, 400 million pounds for the tanks, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what's interesting with James Bond is they went from clear-cut kind of villains that were obvious, stereotypically kind of nuisances to society, to slightly weird and quirky, bit more dark kind of personas, which I'm now going to try and show you what that looks like.
So, again, no cat though, hey? Okay, go.
Hello, Mr. Bond. Welcome to my volcano. No, that was rubbish, actually. That was really bad. We should move. Oh, really?
Do one more. Okay, go. I mean, that was exactly the same thing. You just changed your voice.
I'm rubbish at acting. It's not something I should pursue.
Well, we've got stuff we want to talk about this morning on Fire Mountain, and it's not if we're.
I mean, all of that so far was just free for all. So that is, you're welcome.
You're welcome. And obviously, if you have any questions, comments, or maybe just general concern over our mental state and well-being, please put them into the comments below or email us at firemountain@sunnyhill.church. We would really love to hear from you. We really don't hear from anybody, so we would love to hear from you. If anyone's out there,
I mean, to be honest, how long are we going to do this before we make some big reviews and tweaks, do you reckon?
I mean, I don't really know. It's a good question.
Are we going to target like 50? Is that the goal?
Well, 50 would bring us up to a year.
Okay.
So
there we go. That might work.
How we go. So we're in number 11.
We are making some tweaks, to be fair.
Yeah.
So today we are not going to be showing worship like we've done. Not because worship isn't important, but because we've watched Fire Mountain a few times. We just feels it's like a bit weird.
Yeah.
Like we go from talking about politics and then we go to a song and it feels a bit tokenistic.
Yeah.
So we encourage you to worship, but after watching this, you can go on YouTube, type in your favourite worship songs and worship at home and stuff. We may do performance pieces from now and then, but it's not going to be part of the mainstay of Fire Mountain anymore, which means, in theory, that the episode should be about an hour long, which means that you can kind of prepare for that easier.
That's really hopeful, but let's see what happens.
But we need some videos, don't we?
We do need videos, and we would encourage you, if you're going, I really need to get into a space for worship, come back to church.
Come back to church for sure.
We would love to see you on a Sunday. 10:30 in Ferndown campus happening at Ferndown Village Hall. 10:30 at our pool campus happening at Magna Academy.
There's nothing like it, is there?
Heath.
Being back in the room, man.
Nah,
it's party. It's
good.
so good. So definitely, if you're in the postcode, if you're close to us, then get into the room. And if you watch from afar, there's going to be some amazing churches by you, guarantee it. And if you need help finding one, email us at office@sunnyhill.church. We'd love to help you find one.
But if you disagree with everything we say, do, and how we act, Fire Mountain at sunnyhill.church.
Yeah.
Which is good. Okay, so before we get into some of the conversation today, we're going to be going into one of our favorite little segments.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Brilliant. Love it. I think we're going to need to change the segment. If you've got any ideas on segments that we could include in Fire Mountain, email firemountain@sunnyhill.church. Like some funny segments, I don't know, maybe you can think of, that would be quite good.
Yeah.
Because I think, we've done worship fails now for 4 or 5 weeks, and I like them, but obviously we want to mix it up. Keep it fresh.
And if anybody emails in saying, can I eat cheese upside down?
Yeah.
Game over.
That's mature. Oh, joke again. Still funny the second time, baby.
Mr. Bond.
that would be a great villain in Bond, wouldn't it? Someone who just tells rubbish jokes. Like
no, that is James Bond. That is James Bond, dude.
No, but the villain, telling dad jokes and just annoying everyone. World leaders with his horrendous humour.
Zelensky coming on. Before we get into today, guys, just a little bit of it.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you a joke about an elevator because it works on so many levels. No.
And that's because I don't have any tumbleweeds.
Hey, do you know at NASA when there's a surprise birthday party, do you know what they do?
What?
They plan it.
Thank you for joining us at Fire Mountain today. It's been a good run, but we're done. We are done. Okay, so
the thing with frisbees, right?
Come on.
I was wondering why they look so small from far away and how they get bigger and bigger. And then it hit me.
Listen to the sound. Just listen to that silence.
I don't.
Dude, across the world.
I don't care.
Although, it does raise an interesting point. If we sent you over right onto the border between the Ukraine and Russia, and you told a joke, like a common enemy uniting two opposing sides, they'll all just go after you.
Do you know what Joker would say?
Go.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this Amish dad and son go to a supermarket, right?
Yeah.
And they've never ventured out of their Amish community. So they're blown away by this mall. There's lights, there's electricity, these crazy things, shops and music playing on speakers. They're just blown away by the whole experience, almost overwhelmed by it. And they get to these kind of double steel doors with numbers above it, right? And they see that these doors open and the doors close and the numbers go up and the numbers go down, right? And anyways, as they're standing there looking at these doors, right, this old kind of decrepit woman with this walking aid comes, steps through the doors, right? And the doors close behind her and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bing! And it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bing! And it opens, right? And it's this size 6 supermodel-esque kind of woman comes out, nice smart hair, nice clothes, and walks out. And the Amish boy says to the dad, Dad, what on earth is that? And the dad says, I don't know, but go and get your mom.
There are so many problems with that joke. I don't even know where we begin. It's at this point we wish we had a disclaimer we could put up underneath Fire Mountain right now.
You don't rate that joke.
Just to run and go, warning. What? Multiple different people may be offended by what we say, not just the Amish. Who we're okay with because they're probably not going to ever watch Fire Mountain.
What's your issue with the joke?
There's no issue with the joke.
That's a brilliant joke.
How big is size 6? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. That's supermodel size, isn't it? Or size 0 or something. The idea is this woman has been transformed.
No, I understood the joke. I wasn't confused by it.
Right, okay, fair enough. Anyways.
So there we are. So worship failed.
That would be the joke that I'd run with anyways.
Yeah, and there's a good chance everybody would turn against you. So I think it could
Common
work.
enemy helps.
Hey,
Uniting nations.
I think it could work. Okay, so we I keep jumping to you while I'm about to speak. I'm like, oh, here we go. So we're going to be doing some worship fails.
Yeah.
You've got some great ones this week.
Thank you.
Really, really good one.
Thank you.
So we're just going to jump straight in. Here's the first one. Here we go.
Okay.
Who can stop the Lord
I hate this song on the
Almighty?
left guitar. It's awkward bit. Check this out.
Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Oh, who can stop the Lord?
Just crunches a power chord to come out of it. He's like looking around going, nope, this is me then. Okay, I just died a death. Okay, let's go back into it. That's quite funny.
That song, though, is built to fail.
It is at that point.
If you don't hit that guitar right,
You've got to come in loud and proud,
I know.
haven't
You just have to own it.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
For
That's
sure.
so good. Okay, here we go. Number 2.
Okay, this is good. Okay. I like this kind of more older woman on the left-hand side of the stage praying for Jesus to come back.
Please, just take me now.
It's this guy. He's just stopped playing electric guitar. He's given up. Okay, we need to watch that one more time.
Okay, here we go.
To fully appreciate it. That would be me.
I love it.
That would be me. That would be me.
Oh, man. This makes me feel like there was someone in his ear going, shut up. Just shut up. What are you doing? Stop
Take
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
so good. Okay.
Okay, finally, you need to watch the guy in the middle on the bass guitar.
Here we go. Yeah.
This is so good. What's this?
Who just has a weird resemblance to Jesus as well, just
He
to
does.
say.
Just because he's got long hair, basically. Just check it out.
I mean, it's stereotypical, isn't it?
Come on, let's see it. Fortunately, it wasn't videoed. Oh, wait. That's all. Can we watch that one more time, please?
Oh, I love
That's
that.
one of my favourite ones. Amazing.
It's
Okay.
the fact that he actually fails back. Way! I was loving that.
Yeah, he does flail. And finally, this video, I think, is a great bookend to worship fails.
Yeah.
Because this guy, he's leading worship. I don't know whether he's a novice, but he's just putting together loads of pithy statements that are well known. Some are suitable for church, some aren't suitable for church. And he's trying to just find it. So there's a quote from Hunger Games. There's a quote from, I think, the Constitution or something.
Yeah.
And like he's trying to work out something to such an extent that the pastor has to kind of shut him up. But it made me laugh a lot because I've been there. I've done this. It's funny. Maybe not as bad as this, but
it is bad.
As the deer before the water, so my soul longeth after thee. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever.
so far, not too bad. Now it goes really bad.
Never. So say we all. Father God, we just ask not what we can do for you, but what you can do for our country, what we can do for you and our country, what we can do for us. So, just by the power vested in me by the state of Arkansas, just declare this work over, and the odds be ever in his favor.
Amen. Let's
The
give the
pastor
Lord
is
a
like,
deep
okay,
praise.
Tony, seriously. Tony, shut up. Seriously. Go
May the odds forever be.
May the odds be ever in your favour. May the odds. What is it?
Yeah,
Or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
What is
good.
it?
I can't remember the sign. It's no, the sign's that. The sign's that.
I don't think you can do that, dude.
Oh, actually, yeah.
That's all good. Okay, I think it is like that, isn't it? It's down here, just to be safe. Yeah, may the odds ever be. I like that.
Oh.
By the power vested in me by the state
State
of
of
Arkansas, I declare this worship set over.
What is great about it is just the pastor just staring at him in the beginning when he walks the stage,
Oh.
just like giving him like
I
a.
feel bad for him, man. I feel so bad for him. But hey, that is funny.
Oh, those are great. Those are great. So hopefully, if you've got any other ideas, please pop them into the comments. We'd love to hear from them of some other segments you'd like to see here on Fire Mountain. So we
Yeah.
thought a little bit today we're going to wrestle through something that we're also going to be speaking about at Magna,
Yeah, Pool Campus.
at Pool Campus, which is around the right order of our love life. How
Yeah.
to make sure our love life is in order.
So you're going to be speaking, Richard, obviously. But what I was challenged by, something you said, is that you would fight for your family, right?
Yeah.
So if we were talking about conscription,
Yeah.
as in World War II,
Yeah.
The war efforts require people to sign up voluntarily to the war efforts and
Yeah.
stuff. You would do that.
Yeah.
So you would shoot for you would shoot somebody.
Yeah. Potentially, I would.
Potentially would. But then you said, if I did sign up, you would try to be a chaplain
Yes.
or a stretcher bearer
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Yeah.
Would you fight, or would you take more of a pacifist route?
So, great question. And just to frame it in the context of the kind of discussion we're having,
Yeah.
is I think if we get the order wrong in how we're loving people,
Okay.
and I mean like a literal, there is a listed order
Okay.
of how we love people, we end up either being incapable of loving people in the right way, or
Okay.
we end up making really unhealthy choices when
Okay.
it comes to how we express, show behaviors we may institute in that love
Okay.
for people. So I definitely think that there is a right order
Okay.
to love people.
Okay.
And so it's love God,
Yeah.
love yourself.
Okay. That's slightly controversial, isn't it?
It is, and some people may look and go, "No, what are you talking about? Why would you go? Surely you must love others before you love
Well,
yourself."
it's a negative connotation when you say,
Yeah.
"Oh, Barry loves himself."
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
It is, and I think that you can unpick. There's quite a lot, maybe as we're going on, that we'll begin to unpick inside of that.
Yeah.
But love God, love yourself, love your family, and what I mean by that, so I'm going to be quite specific now. You first love your spouse,
Yeah.
then you love your children,
Okay.
then you love your parents.
Okay.
Not love my spouse and children equally.
Okay.
I love my spouse.
Okay.
I then love my children.
Yeah.
I then love my parents.
Okay.
So when we're going, and I think if you can't love yourself,
Mhm.
you can't properly love your spouse,
Why?
because I think how you see yourself, how you value yourself, what you do as you look at yourself, decisions you make about yourself won't be pitched in the right way. So the Bible actually commands us that we should love others as we love ourselves. And it's easy for us to look and go, and that's more just a self-sacrificial type thing maybe, or what.
Yeah.
But I think actually what it's really embedding in us is this idea of, if I don't see myself in the correct way, which is why I need to love God first,
Okay.
it's going to affect how I begin to see everybody else around me.
Okay.
So a lot of dysfunction we see, I think, in marriages, if you tie it back, is because people haven't fully understood who they are as God comes and defines them because they love them. It's impossible for us not to be defined by what we love.
Okay. So is loving yourself, and we do need to come back to the war question.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I don't want to let you off the hook on that one. Is loving yourself putting yourself first?
Is loving myself putting myself first? No, it isn't.
Okay. So what's the difference then?
Loving myself is understanding who I am when it comes to my identity in the light of how God is loving me. So who God is declaring me to be. So this doesn't mean I walk around going, I'm the greatest, everybody else sucks, I'm better than everybody in the room. But it does mean me walking around with a certain confidence to go, this is who I am and how God has defined who I am. So this is who God is declaring who I am kind of over me.
Yeah.
And because I love him, it's impossible for me not to let him define me.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that, I mean, we could really unpack this. Insecurity is when my love for self is greater than my love for God.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Because I love myself more than God, I'm prepared to let my insecurities define who I am. And the minute that happens, it begins to mess up every other relationship I have, because my love life is out of order.
Okay. But wouldn't you say insecurity is actually having more hate for yourself than love for God? Do you know what I mean? Like your hate for yourself, your dislike for yourself outweighs your love for God.
Yeah, so that's where...
But you say it's actually, you think it's more too... Go on. Help me understand.
Yeah. So I think what we're saying is that actually when it comes to insecurity, we carry these insecurities with us. They begin to define who we are.
Yeah.
And what we do is God comes and he goes, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And we go, no, it is who I am.
Okay.
No, it's not who you are.
Okay.
I'm telling you it's not who you are. I love you so much that I'm telling you It's not who you are.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's impossible for us to love something and not let us define it.
Okay. Okay.
So what we love defines us. So I think it's really interesting. If you love, and we'll literally, you'll see how this unpacks in my head. If you love Netflix more than you love your kids, none of us would want to say that. But actually, if when my kids come home, I'd rather be watching Netflix or looking at YouTube than engaging with them, that begins to define me. That love of Netflix actually begins to define who I am. It affects all of my other relationships.
Okay.
So I think when it comes to insecurity, what we end up doing is we end up going, these most hateful things about how I see myself, I actually love them.
Okay.
Because I'm prepared to not let who God defines me as and tells me I am outweigh, override, or bring correction to these insecurities. And so actually I begin to go, I love this part of me more than I love who God is saying I am. And so I flip myself above God.
Okay.
And I begin to go, no, my love for me is way more important than my love for God.
Okay.
So then I'm going to let those insecurities define me. Why? Because I love myself, and it's impossible for what I love to not begin to define me.
Yeah.
So I think when you get the order out of whack, it begins to affect everything else. Because the minute I love myself more than God, it begins to affect not only just how I see myself, how I see God, what I believe God would ask me to do, what God may call me to in my life. Would I take correction or rebuke or discipline from God? No, I wouldn't. Why? Because I love myself way more than I love God.
Okay.
So I end up in that kind of, I'm out of balance.
Okay.
But that also then will feed into every other relationship that there is.
Okay, so do you think the problem in society then is that people love themselves more than God, or that people don't or hate themselves too much? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
Love themselves more than they love God.
Okay.
We even love the
Interesting.
worst parts of ourselves. Like, it sounds weird. Like, the reason I say that is, if there's something you hate in your life, you don't keep it. You get rid of it. We have an entire industry that exists from that. Oh, you don't like your nose, get rid of it. Put a new one on.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like your arm. Oh, no, probably not your arm. That's not right. That
Give me a new arm.
That we're ready.
I want a size 6 arm.
I mean, that went really a weird way, really quickly. Like, oh, you don't like your ears, let's pull them back. Oh, you don't like your stomach, let's shove something in and suck it out. Oh, you don't, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We don't keep the things that we hate. We are really used to discarding what we hate. Actually gets quite tricky, because I think when you begin to unpack broken marriages, sadly, we begin to discard the things we hate.
Okay.
Kids we may not want. There's the easy conversations, and then there's the reality at a much more painful level.
Yeah.
But it's a discarding. Yet when it comes to things like our insecurities, we hold on to them.
Yeah, okay.
It's not because we hate them.
Yes.
I think it's because we love them. We love who they've defined us.
So is it the fact that we love them, or is it more to do with the fact that we just say, oh, this is who I am?
Well, I think that the minute we say this is who I am, it's because we're letting it define us.
Okay.
And what we love defines us. The Bible talks about all the time, where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be also.
Okay.
So at some point we've gone, I really treasure this insecurity.
Okay.
I really value it.
I mean, do you think this is why Jesus, when he's ministering to physical ailments and dysfunctions rather than necessarily emotional ones, although that was, I'm sure, included, he would say, do you want to be made well?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because it's
Great
like
question.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lord, I want to walk. Thank you.
Yeah.
But Jesus understood that people identity was shaped by their dysfunction.
Yeah.
More than their...
And I think you can even push deeper. I 100% agree. And I think that sometimes he looks at them and he goes, "Oh, do you want physical healing?" And then he'll go, "Now your sins are forgiven."
Okay.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
What do you mean, Jesus? Like,
Yeah.
the sickness I'm feeling is a sin issue, and I think actually he's going, "No, you've assumed this into your identity. You need to be
Forgiven,
transformed."
Free.
I love you so much
Yeah.
that I'm going to define who you are.
Okay.
So I have to define I have to let God define who I am.
Yes.
So first I love God. Great commandment. They come and say, what's the greatest commandment?
No.
Love God with all of your heart,
Yeah.
your soul,
Yeah.
your mind,
Yeah.
your strength. Ultimately, with all of who you are,
Yeah.
love God.
Yes.
All of who you are. That is the most important command. The second is like it. Love others as you would love yourself. And I think inside of that, it's really interesting because I think a lot of people go, but Jesus says it's the 2 great commands. And if you say you should love God and yourself and others, that's 3.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it is 3.
Yeah.
But it's still 2 commands.
Okay.
Because loving others and loving myself are one in the same.
Okay.
They're not separated. But if you get the order wrong, you're messed up. So if you love others before you love yourself, others will begin to define who you are. Because who you love defines you. So I have to go first, I let God love me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I love me because God loves me. Mm-hmm. So who he's saying I am is who I am, and that's how I'm going to see myself. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to be able to truly love my family that's around me.
Okay. So what does it mean then to love yourself, practically speaking? Is it to shower every day?
Yeah, daily hugs.
Daily
just
daily touch points.
Just like rubbing your face sometimes. I think it means that you're not prepared to let anything that is out of kilter with how God would say you are, how God sees you, who God declares you, to become a driving force or something that you tolerate in your life.
Okay.
So I think that's really difficult because obviously there's a lot of stuff you have to wrestle out inside of that. But I think that people will look and go, I've had these words spoken over me my whole life. I've been told I'm this, and this.
Yeah.
When I truly love myself, I look and I go, well, God is saying I'm that, and that.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to actually assume that's who I am.
Okay.
I may not feel it. I may not even kind of go, is this really real? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin to go, I assume it.
Yeah.
I begin to put it as part of who I am. I begin to push it into my identity. I begin to declare it over myself. I begin to go, this is who I am now. Mm-hmm. I begin to truly believe that the old has gone and that the new has come. I begin to truly believe that at the point of acceptance of Jesus into my life, I did become a new creation. Mm-hmm. Something totally new is happening in me. I'm going to begin to actually just believe these things to be true and now begin to operate and live my life.
So you just said
way.
that you believe them to be true. So we're not talking about your feelings then?
No.
So it's not about how I feel about myself.
No.
It's what I believe about myself, and that is different, right?
Yeah, I agree. So I think that I think that's absolutely right. I think love, when you talk about love, if I say to you, and you can do it now, okay, Dom, so tell me what the feeling of love is.
It's like butterflies deep in the stomach. It's like
so nervousness,
awkwardness. Yeah, I think I would say love is about it's the deepest sense of contentment.
Okay.
In a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's like satisfied is a good word, but I think contentment in some ways is stronger because contentment is this completeness. I feel like in this relationship, there is this mutual connection that is, you know, and that's easy to identify when you go loving people who love you.
Yes.
It becomes harder when it's like the Samaritan, you know, in that kind of parable where you got to love somebody who's actually a cancer in your head. You know, and so I don't know if that speaks to
I think it's really good. Like, I think because what you're saying is there are actions that find the expressions that when you do those, we will then relate and go, this is love.
Okay.
Like, we at some point gone, it's about the fields. Mm-hmm. Ooh, you give me the May vapors, Mr. Darcy. Yeah. Ooh, like that kind of vibe. And it's not. It's central actions and behaviors. Because sometimes when I love, I cry. And sometimes when I love, I laugh. Yeah. They're in actions.
Yeah.
But I'm laughing or I'm crying. Mm-hmm. There's not a love emotion.
Okay.
Sometimes when I love, I'm angry. Because I love, I'm angry. Mm-hmm. Like, my kids will do stuff and I go, my response isn't because I hate you. My response is because I love you and I'm furious at what you've done. Yeah. Like, I'm furious about it because it's not who you are. Yeah. Like, it's so weird. So love, when you kind of look at that thing, is we're waiting for this feeling. Like, I should feel like I love myself. Yeah. No, I need to act like I am these things. I act like I love myself. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Because love is action. It's doing stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't want to break into a song like a DC Talk, love is a verb rap because we could. Nah, let's not do it. But so I think that even when you're unpicking stuff, you're going, it's a level of contentment. Contentment's an action. It's a way. It's not just, you don't just go, oh, content. No, it's a doing thing. Yes. And so when you begin to unpick it, is I look and I go, when I love myself, I'm beginning to live my life, behavioring my life beginning to construct my life, beginning to operate, that makes true in my life everything God is already saying is true.
Yes.
And I think that it's such a big tension because there's lots of things we're still becoming with God, yet we already are.
Yes.
And we need to begin to make true what we already truly are in God says to us. But we can only do that when we get our love life in order, which is I love God, and then I love myself.
Okay.
And if I get that out of whack, it's all messed up. If I love myself more than God, I'm messed up. If I love others before I love myself, it's all messed up.
Okay.
It's God, me, and then I think we hit the question of now family.
Okay.
And I think normally, and there's Bible promises, love your father and mother, treat them with honor, and there's even promises attached to these actions of love.
That's true.
But then we hit some points where it says, and now for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father and will now become one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. I remember when I was growing up, that was always the promise that my mom would throw at me, and a valid one. She was like, the Bible says, if you want to live a long time in the land, you need to honor your father and mother. And, AKA, it's not necessarily health that will take me. My mom will kill me if I don't sort this out, basically. And, and I always thought, I even knew as a kid, that's like a bit blackmaily, isn't it? It's a bit like manipulative. But I'm playing the same. I play the exact same card now to my kids. I'm like, literally, Caleb. The Bible says. In fact, when we were in lockdown, we were doing memory verses every day, and we lingered on that one for about 5 days because we're drilling that into them. Basically, if you want a long life, behave, because basically I won't kill you.
Yeah, it's so good.
Bottom line,
it's so good.
It's so true.
And this is what I like. If you get the order right, and you go, okay. So God's saying to you, this is who you are, and part of who you are is that you should honor your father and mother. Yeah. So I love God, so I let him define me because what I love defines me. Okay. I could be a young person, I could be listening to this, and I could be at school. Yeah. But also I could be a 50-year-old person and have to look at my parents and go, because you're not defining me. Yeah. So this isn't a question anymore of how good are my parents towards me to produce a response in me of whether I'll be loving or not. This is a question of going, God, number one, me. Yeah. So now I need to be loving towards my parents. Yeah, okay. Because this is who I am. So treating them with honor becomes an active choice in my life. It's something I build in and choose to do it.
Even if they don't deserve it.
Even if they don't deserve it. I still treat them with honor. But then the Bible says at some point a man will leave his mother and father and will now
cleave. Cleave to his wife. Leave and cleave, baby. Cleave. It's such a romantic word, isn't it? Let's cleave.
And so this is where the order gets changed because I leave behind my parents and now I become one with my spouse. Yeah. So there's a shift in the order of love that happens. I love this because it means it's actually easier for me to be single than it is for me to be married.
Okay. Does Charmaine agree?
Charmaine looks and goes, my life would have been way easier if I was single than married. But I think it's because I think single people go, oh, if only I was married, it would all be easier. Yeah, but no, it wouldn't be. Yeah. Because the minute you're married, you're putting another step in the right love order to make your love life work. Okay. Where if you're not, it's a lot easier to kind of begin to push down and go, am I making sure that I'm sitting in the right order with the right understanding of how I am choosing to love the people around me and kind of where I'm holding them? Yeah. And so I think it makes complete sense then when Paul says things like, it's better for you to be single, to get on and do the things God wants you to do. Because the minute that you're married, well, I have to also think now of another layer. Oh, now I have kids. Now I've got another 2 layers that I need to stick on top of that. Yeah. To wrestle through before I actually am just operating in any effective way, maybe. Okay. So it makes everything so much more complicated.
I mean, how much of this thought is because you're a listy kind of person? Yeah. Like you're analytical, quite like, more tactical. So you're a person who likes lists. Yeah. So actually, you like the idea that, you like systems and structures. So I love this person 1, 2, 3. Yes. But is it actually like that? Is it really like that kind of? I don't know what you like. I don't know how you would say it.
Is it less chaotic?
Love. Is it not like just a cluster of feelings and beliefs and dysfunctions and is that not what life is like? I guess where I'm trying to understand is like, how does humility play into this?
Yeah.
Like this idea that all the time we're preaching, we're saying like, we're championing this principle of the last will be first, the first will be last.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is no, not really. Like, in some way, you're just below God in the pecking order.
Yeah.
of like, importance in your life.
Why is anyone arguing with this? I thought we'd all be on board with this.
Well, surely that's so like hedonistic, isn't it? To say that like,
yeah.
my self-interest and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like me, it's like the gas mask on a plane scenario. Like, oh, screw you guys. Like, I've got to survive this crash.
Yeah.
And now I'll help you.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a fair thing. But do you not think there's any kind of conflict on that kind of premise?
So I think a lot of what underpins what you're saying is us having to really wrestle through, firstly, our perceptions of power. Mm-hmm. So power dynamics that happen across the societal like norm.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying would be true is if we're all driven by arrogance and pride. Mm-hmm. It's hard for God to define who you are and then for you to go, I'm going to be really arrogant and prideful now.
Okay.
The problem is humility, especially fake humility, is a sense of pride.
Yeah,
it's not actually.
that's true.
It's not humbleness. If I'm really good at something and I don't say I'm good at it, that's pride. Mm-hmm. Me saying I'm good at it is humility.
Okay.
And I think that's where we get it wrong. I think then we have this idea of I'm more important, as if God's gone, this order is an order of importance. No, this order isn't an order of number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This order is important in terms of God going, I want to bring order into chaos.
Okay.
So obviously you must have thought about this, being a pastor. I know you spent ages and ages and ages thinking through biblical stuff. And when you unpick the creation, there is a chaos that exists at the beginning that God begins to bring into alignment, into an order. But when you actually unpick it, you go, well, without the previous step, the next step couldn't exist. God couldn't create animals but have no land for them to live on or water for them to be in. But God couldn't also bring certain divisions without going, we need to do this. Well, now we need to bring in day and we need to bring in night. So we could have potentially gestation periods and growths and things like. So many things when you go is God going, I'm creating this order that when the order is operated correctly is going to be life-giving to everybody involved. Yeah. So climate change is really interesting and different people will sit at different places.
Oh, Richard, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, let's just jump right.
Oh, yeah.
It had to happen.
You gotta save the whales, man.
But if climate change
and Scotland.
And just to say, you may not believe in climate change.
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
Kinda.
Yeah, you see how that
I just don't think it's as desperate as like the news makes out. Like doom.
But the minute the order gets out wrong, it begins to affect everything else. So the minute that this thing gets out of order to this thing, everything else is beginning to affect. It's not instant destruction. It's not it all just collapses, but there's a slow degradation that happens. And I truly think when it comes to this area of how we order our love life, and I like that title because it makes me laugh when I think about it, and this the double entendre inside of it. It's all good. Yeah,
nice
entendre.
Nice word.
But I think when we get this wrong, what happens is there's a slow degradation in our lives. And I think you can take society and you can begin to actually map this order out and go, when we started at some point in society going, our kids are more important than our spouse, the family started to crumble.
Okay.
It wasn't overnight. Marriages didn't end overnight. But there'll be people, even potentially at church, people listening to this who go, my spouse loves my children more than they love me, and this is slowly beginning to really affect our marriage. There's a slow degradation of relationship. Why? Well, because now there's conflict. Why? Because you value the kids more than me, so if the kids do something, you'll take their side over my side. You're not backing me up. Why aren't you supporting? It's every conversation. Lots of married couples happen. And it's because the order kind of begins to get all messed up and out of whack when men are too much their mommy's boys and now they get married.
Yeah.
And they still remain their mommy's boys.
But what if your mom used to iron your underwear and now your wife refuses, even the notion of ironing underwear and socks.
I mean, this is where
that's
women have
unreasonable,
to
isn't
go.
it? That's
You
unreasonable.
left your mom and you chose to marry me. Two have become one on your own underwear.
You know what's so funny? Louise pulled me up on this the other day. I can't remember. We were having a marital disagreement about something, and I can't remember what it was. And Louise, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was along these lines. She said, the problem is you think that being a good dad equates to being a good husband.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was
And
interesting.
brutal.
It's brutal. I was like,
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
But this idea that, like, generally I will play with the kids a lot and give them a lot of attention, and probably somewhere in my subconscious, I think this is what a good husband does, in the sense of creates stability and creates a great connection with their kids. But Louise it was like a wet, cold slap on a sunny day. It was like,
yeah.
like, because what she was essentially saying was, like, that's great because the kids need a great dad, but actually there's responsibility as a husband that, like, that's cool, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like, there are responsibilities and roles that must be played here.
Yeah.
And I thought it was harsh but fair.
What I like about that, not just the brutalness of you getting a smackdown, like that too. Let's be honest, always fun. But what's interesting in it is if you piece it back, you begin to look and go, because something in you wasn't quite defined right.
Okay.
It began to affect how you were loving your wife.
Yeah.
Like it's the order, which
It's
is
the
the
order.
crazy thing, because it's God going, actually, Dom, there's stuff here that I need to be highlighting in your life, and we all know this to be true. If you're married, probably one of the biggest highlights in your life of stuff where God's going, get that rubbish sorted out, is going to be your spouse. Is He's going, I need to bring you into alignment with understanding who you are as you love me.
Yeah.
So being a good husband isn't just something you should do as a man. Actually, it's an imperative of how you should be as a disciple of Jesus.
Yeah.
God going, you being a good husband or a wife being a good wife
Yeah.
is it's a definition God is placing in us, going, because I love you, this is the kind of person I want you to be
Yes.
when you're with your wife.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden then it comes down. Now, it's not that you go, well, but because you have to look and go, there was something out of kilter in me.
Yeah.
There was now something out of kilter in my relationship.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because I think that, like, historically, when you look at pastors through recent decades, would have elevated ministry and vocational, now I know it's a calling, but vocational ministry, employed ministry, to be like the be-all and end-all, and their priority, because this thing, saving people from hell, this thing is of primary importance, and of course it is. But I think I've even been here in the past where you almost like you're burning the candle at both ends when it comes to ministry, or maybe for someone else, life or whatever. And what you're doing is you're going, Lord, just protect my family.
Yeah.
Build my family and stuff. But I'm really concentrating on this church thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in the scriptures, it's interesting because Jesus says, no, I build my church. And Paul says in Ephesians, husbands, love your wives. So it's not like you build the church and I'll love your wife on your behalf. I'll build your household. I'll build the environment. I'll build your kids into Jesus following disciples. No, that's you. That's exclusively your job.
Yeah.
I build the church, you build your home kind of scenario.
So good.
Which I think is like, I say it's a sort of difference. It's not. It's actually a stark contrast. But I think what we have to do is embrace our responsibility to intentionally build our households. But like you say, and I think that's an interesting thought, can I do that well unless I'm built, unless I know who I am in Christ? An interesting thought.
Yeah. And so to swing it back to your war question.
I mean, I have lots of questions about what you said, though, because I want to know, where does my actual physical neighbor fit into this?
Yeah, so I unpicking it. Your family, spouse, let's go quick. Spouse to kids to then parents, when you've got that.
Okay.
I think then we do friends. So I say this, and by friends, what I mean is church, and I mean your neighbor.
Okay.
The people who you are connected with. And I've been wrestling through this quite a bit to go, where does church? How does church? And and I go, actually, what we're talking about here is the people who I do life with deeply. And that should be church and my neighbor, however your definition of neighbor is. It may not be your physical neighbor. It could be people who are closely
Do you mean
connected
Christian,
into you.
or does it have to be Christian?
Or non-Christian.
Okay.
But I actually think that you have to look. The reason I say that is the fundamental call on you is to make disciples.
Okay.
Make disciples is an act you do with both Christians and non-Christians. They're one and the same.
Okay.
You must just go and make disciples. So when I'm with the people in church, I need to make disciples. What does it look like? Connecting with them, small groups, serving. This is how I'm making disciples. But what I'm also doing is making disciples when you're having a barbecue with your next door neighbor.
I still think you're wrong, though.
That's okay.
I'm just saying.
That's
I think
okay.
that's wrong there.
Okay, go why?
Well, because I think that you should love your brothers and sisters in Christ first, because Jesus says, by this will all men know that you're mine, by the way you love one another. That it's our ministry to those who don't know Jesus is so much more powerful because of the love we have for one another. So I always think that, like, so even with the Ukrainian thing, for example, I'm much more keen to give to the church. I'm much more keen to give to brothers and sisters in Christ than just give to missional efforts to non-Christians. Not because I don't love non-Christians, but I think my priority out of the two is to bless the church, and then the church to bless its community. Yeah. Not to bypass the church and to or to even put them on level foot. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So I wouldn't fight what you're saying, because I would look and I would go, I'm deeply connected to my neighbor who's not a Christian because of proximity.
Yeah.
But I'm deeply connected to the Ukrainian church because of family tie.
Okay.
Which is through Jesus.
Yeah.
So they are on the same level to me.
Okay.
Because then beyond my neighbor is my neighborhood. So after my friends, I love my neighborhood. And my neighborhood is where I live. And once I'm loving where I live my nation. And when I love my nation, I'm going to love the world.
Okay.
And that's kind of the round order that I need to do. But I would look and I would go, I'm deeply connected to other Christians around the world. In the same way as I'm deeply connected to the guy who is always coming over for a barbecue and borrowing my thing and who I'm investing into. So I would probably look and go, I'm not willing. I wouldn't be dying over.
It's semantics in many ways.
Over that thing. I just think what we've ended up doing is we end up going, I choose church over the non-Christian next door, as if they're quite separate. And I'm wondering in my head as I wrestle out what it means to just be a disciple.
Yes.
If actually it's more connected than we think it is, because the person who lives next door is my disciple that I'm making a disciple.
It's on a journey, yeah.
And the same as the people in church. But I think that my connection to the wider church of Christ is as valid and as important.
Yes.
And I think that they look like that's the thing. It becomes kind of
and I think they are close together. And I think, like you say, discipleship starts the other side of the cross. Some people think it only happens upon salvation, but discipleship starts before people make a choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
In many ways. But I just think if out of principle, let's say a single mom in the church can't afford an MOT.
Yeah.
Or a single mom on your street can't afford an MOT. My money's going to the single mom in church first.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's... And it may, in theory, let's do both.
Yeah.
Why pick one?
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one, I'd do the one in church, because I think that's part of our witness.
Yes.
That not that we've got this exclusive club, but there is this measure of oneness and community and brotherhood that, like, and you know, this sense of family that we back them up, and that becomes almost an irresistible witness for the non-Christian who maybe doesn't have those structures and supports immediate. Now, I'm not saying you should just, like, you know, get lost world, because we're here for the world.
Yeah.
But actually, our most powerful weapon is love for one another.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I would totally agree. And I would agree. If you can do both, do both. I wonder if you would see it differently if it was the single mom who's been coming into your home for the last 3 years and you're deeply connected to because they are on a journey and you're speaking to them about faith and all of these things. And if they came and said, I don't have enough money for an MOT, or a mom in church said, I don't have much money for an MOT, if you'd go and put my money
that's fair.
into this person, and not because I value them higher or lower, because actually it's all disciples.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
in these connection runs. So coming back to the
What's
war
the time,
question,
Richard?
we're already an hour and 5 minutes without worship music. So it's happened.
Oh, man. I mean, we've talked. I'd say there's been about 40% of quality content today.
40%? That's hopeful.
I mean, if we just took out the gold bits, maybe we could make a 12-minute episode.
3 minutes of Fire Mountain.
That was good.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your question really quickly.
Go on.
Firstly, I don't think God is a pacifist, so I don't think that.
Okay.
So I think God is a peacemaker,
Okay.
but also I think that there is enough instances where God brings, not violence, because I'm uncomfortable with the idea of God bringing violence, but definitely using war as a tool to establish peace, because sometimes war is what's required to bring peace. So I think that when I think in that way, how I see God defining me isn't that he's pushing me to be a pacifist, but he is pushing me to be a peacemaker.
Okay. Interesting.
Which means I wouldn't shy away from having to go into war. Now, my personal preference is I wouldn't want to kill anyone.
Yeah.
Because I think that all life is ultimately sacred to God.
Yeah.
And so as much as what I could do is I want to bring about preservation of life. But if it reached a point where I'm going either a massive injustice that's really ungodly is going to work out, or Hitler needs to be assassinated, I think it's the greater good, and I know we've spoken about that before in the episode,
Yeah.
to choose to go, I'm going to choose the assassination.
So let me ask you an ethical question.
Yeah.
It's almost a bit like a trolley dilemma, but not quite.
Yeah.
Okay. If there was 10 people standing there, right, and a Nazi guard,
Yeah.
and I say Nazi because they're evil,
Yeah.
came and gave you a gun and
Yeah.
said, right, you shoot one or I'll shoot all 10.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Shoot the Nazi god, obviously. I mean, he's going to be a gun.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough then. That settled that age-old kind of ethical, kind of moralistic dilemma.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. If you pushed me, and I wouldn't make a theology out of this, I would probably ask everybody if they have faith. And if there was one Christian there with faith, I would shoot that Christian.
Okay. So you do the opposite of loving your Christian
Well, no,
sister.
I would go, this is the most loving thing I can do for you, is send you back to Jesus. Like, I think that even in the self-definition of Christians, how God defines us, we should become more comfortable with our death than we are, because we understand instinctively it's not the end.
Okay, so
of our life.
because you've totally softballed the thing there.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah,
You
100%.
can't talk to them. You don't know who's a Christian. These are just 10 strangers.
Yeah,
None of them are Christian.
yeah.
Okay. Would you shoot one to save the 10? Or would you go, no, it's irrelevant. You take the 10. I'm not shooting one.
I don't know.
You don't know.
It's a good question. I want to say that I would shoot the one to save the 10. Instinctively, that's what I think.
Okay.
I don't know why I think that, and I'm not convinced that that is the most Christian thing to do.
Yeah.
But I do think that I'd probably choose to shoot one of them and have 9 saved, rather than to say to the Nazi guy,
Yeah.
unlucky.
You see, I
what would you do?
Yeah, I think that's my instinct as well. Is I feel like I think I would feel by proxy guilty either way,
Yeah,
but I'd feel less guilty if there was one
yeah,
because of my decision than 10.
Yeah.
I think rationally, it's such a hard place to pitch you in.
yeah,
But I think also that but the pacifist argument, a theological pacifism argument, would be actually you are accountable and responsible for only the decision you can make,
yeah,
and the outcome is irrelevant.
yeah,
So if you making the righteous decision leads to much more destruction, you still made the right decision. So that's like pacifism, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Christian pacifism is going, it doesn't matter if those 10 got killed ultimately because you didn't kill one of them.
yeah.
And if we have enough people thinking like that, then the world's a better place.
So how would the pacifists understand Jesus dying on the cross? Because surely that same argument can't ring true when we look at the cross.
Well, I guess from the penal substitution kind of point of view, because I guess you would argue that Jesus, it's like saying, would you shoot yourself?
Yeah,
Or these 10 people get shot.
Yes.
Now, that's an easier moral dilemma because now I'm taking my own life, which, on the basis of what you just said a minute ago about loving yourself, maybe that isn't acceptable either.
Well,
I don't know.
putting into the pecking order, what I think is interesting is even Jesus falls into the love order.
Okay.
So Garden of Gethsemane,
Mm-hmm.
not my will,
Mm-hmm.
but your will be done.
Okay.
So it's an interesting dilemma
Mm-hmm.
because we look and we go, Jesus' self-decision to hang on the cross, which I believe is true,
Mm-hmm.
but then also there's this aspect of Jesus where he's going, God, this is what you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to choose to do that.
Yes.
I don't want to,
Yeah.
but I will. And I think what's interesting in the Garden of Gethsemane is it's a triple prayer. He says that prayer 3 times.
Yeah.
So it kind of, like it feels to me like that same ethical dilemma begins to, well, Jesus didn't choose that. Jesus said, rather than the whole world,
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. I just think that Jesus submitted himself to the Father's will. So this idea that no greater love has ever been shown than this, that he lays down his life.
Yeah.
And I think, and I guess that's the slightly different thing. There's a willingness to go, not my will. In other words, I'll take the hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a few other ethical questions I'd like to throw your way, and maybe we save them for another Fire Mountain.
Okay.
Because I think ethics is always an interesting thing, because what it does is it drives to the deepest part of a principle. Because anyone can say, yeah, I will kill for the greater good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's put a proposition. Let's put something before you where you have to make a decision. And it's never as straightforward, I
So
think.
let's do that. Let's have an Fire Mountain ethics.
Okay.
And we'll bring a couple of ethical questions,
All
and
right.
we'll throw them on fire. Let's do it next week.
Okay, all right,
and
that's
see
cool.
where we get to. But I think in my pecking order,
Yeah.
I would go to war, because I would look and I would go, this isn't me choosing my family before God's will for me, or God's definition of me. I don't think God would be going, you shouldn't go to war,
Okay.
which is a massive theological statement that I'm
Yeah,
making.
interesting.
But I think I would be
You've already
able
got the cap,
to
so you're halfway there.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right, let's go.
So that's kind of where it is. But there's so much in the conversation around getting your love life in order. Yeah. As I began to unpick it, and as I began to think through it, I just think there's so many things I can tie to go, oh, that's interesting. Not just in my own life, in society, where I go, that got out of whack. And because it got out of whack, it caused havoc as you began to go through it. When you love your job more than your family, you're stuffed.
Yeah.
Like, and we all instinctively know it.
Love your money.
When you love your money, when you love a cause more, like you begin to just do it. When your possessions, I mean, you begin to unpick it. When your love life becomes out of order, it's craziness.
Time to get it in order.
Yeah.
Good. Sounds good, Richard.
Cool. Well, Fire Mountain, episode 11.
In the bag. In the can.
Wrapped up.
In the can.
I'm going to quickly pray for us.
Let's do it.
God, we thank you that we can come to you and look to you, and that you want to, God. You want to define who we are. You want to tell us how you see us, because you know us the best. You know us better than ourselves. You know us in our most intimate places. And so there's no one better to come and go, no, this is who you really are. This is how I really see you. And so I pray, God, that as we go on this journey of wrestling through getting our love life in order, making sure that we're loving people in the appropriate ways, in the appropriate spaces, and in the way that you are wanting us to do that, that we would begin to find transformation in our lives. We begin to find transformation in our relationships. We begin to find transformation with the people around us, God, and would give us a real comfort to say yes to things, no to things, to be able to know what should define us, what shouldn't define us, to be able to know what to bring in and what to cut out, to be able to know when to take correction and rebuke and change, and when to go, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. This is who God is saying is right. Like, I pray, God, that all of these things would begin to come into order, and that ultimately we would be better Christians, better followers of you, better spouses, better fathers, better mothers, that we would end up, God, being better children to our parents, better friends to our neighbors, better participants in our church and people who are part of the family of God, better people in our neighborhoods, better people in our societies, and better people in this world. That we would begin to get these things right, God, and begin to let you define it all. Amen.
You know what I was thinking? The next episode, we should really, surely be having a mom on here, because it'll be Mother's Day next week.
I mean,
and we should be grilling them.
When have we ever done that? I believe we did an episode talking about women without any women present.
So yeah, I'm happy to do that, actually.
Yeah, let's do that.
My lessons on mothering, which I am happy to teach the world.
Yeah, let's do it. I think that we should probably have a mom on here. And what we should do is we shouldn't throw them under the bus, but we should think of some ethical mother dilemmas that we throw on them.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Or we don't tell them and we just throw them on them and see what happens.
All right, yeah, that's cool.
Great.
That's it.
Cool. Well, really good to see you. Hope you enjoyed the episode of Fire Mountain. If you have disagreements, questions, comments, please email
Standard.
us firemountain@sunnyhill.church.
I mean, I don't agree with half the stuff we say, to be fair.
Yeah, and he's not even emailing, so I don't even know what we do. But that would be great. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you at the next Fire Mountain
Yeah, we
or
do.
at one of the many things happening across Sunny Hill.
Yes, have a great week, guys. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.